which compressor should I buy?
Why don't you ask yourself the following questions. What type of airbrush am I going to be using it for? Miniature models, fake tanning, airbrush makeup, custom painting, hobby illustration? Do I need consistent airflow? In most cases, yes. What is your budget? How much are you willing to spend on a compressor? Where do you do your airbrushing? And is noise an issue? The compressor that you need can change for each different type of airbrushing, as sometimes you have to have the compressor on for longer periods of time. Most of the time you require a consistent airflow, but not always. And sometimes noise can play a large factor, depending on the environment where you'll be using your compressor. Why don't we begin by talking about the compressor requirements for the different styles of airbrushing. Off the bat, I can tell you that every airbrush artist is going to need a compressor with a tank attached, except for the following. Temporary tattoo airbrush artists, people who are using an airbrush to base coat miniatures, and possibly people that are only wanting to use an airbrush to do spray and mask work. Why? Because the tank attached to the compressor offers you a consistent airflow. When the pressure to your airbrush is driven straight from the diaphragm of a compressor, you aren't going to have a consistent airflow. Instead, you'll have a series of little dots. Now that can make for cool effects, but this won't work well if you're trying to paint something as simple as a line. The size of the tank can vary depending on the type of airbrush that you're using and the type of airbrushing that you do. However, if you're doing freehand airbrushing, then I would recommend that your compressor has a tank of at least 10 litres or 2.5 gallons. I think they're the same. So if you're only getting into airbrushing for temporary tattoos or to base coat miniatures, then go ahead and buy the cheapest diaphragm airbrush compressor you can buy. You may have no need to watch this video any further. And for any of you who want a reliable compressor that can run for extended periods of time, then watch on. You can buy any compressor from $60 US and onwards and upwards. Upwards and onwards. Up to around $1,500. While there are many factors to take into account, this video is only going to cover my recommendations. If you'd like to find out more and to make a more educated decision, then stay tuned to airbrushtutor.com for the upcoming free ebook to give you a good deal of background knowledge to help you make an educated decision on what airbrush equipment to buy. These are commonly referred to as airbrush compressors, and as far as I'm concerned, they aren't required for any airbrush artist who needs to do a straight line. They run 100% of the time that you're airbrushing, which means they'll heat up extensively, and if you're unlucky enough to buy one without an automatic cutoff switch, then it's quite possible you could burn out your compressor after only a couple of hours of use. Now these small compressors can be noisy, however they are also available in silent types and are very practical for indoor use. They require very little maintenance. These compressors can be quite cheap and are commonly marketed to beginner airbrush artists. However, I'd only recommend them for any airbrush artist who doesn't need to paint a consistent line. This is the type of compressor that can cause little dots in your lines. I strongly recommend against these compressors for freehand use. Next, we've got the same compressor that we just saw, but this little bugger's got a tank attached. This would be the first little compressor that I'd give a head nod to. The difference here is that you're getting a consistent airflow because you now have a tank attached, and the air pressure on that tank is now regulated. As soon as the pressure inside the tank drops below a certain level, the friendly little motor will pump it up again. This means that your motor isn't running 100% of the time, and means that you can airbrush for longer periods. Yay! Oh, shit. These compressors can also be a little bit noisy. However, for a small premium, they are available in the silent type, which are simply quieter. I wouldn't call them silent. All of this is great. However, for the demand of a freehand airbrush artist, I recommend we take this to the next level. This is what I'd recommend as a bare minimum if you're on a budget and noise isn't an issue. The Workhorse. A 5-gallon or 20-litre tank. This ensures plenty of air supply for what you require. You won't be running the compressor's motor to its maximum capabilities, and you can be assured that it will get a rest in between runtime. These are also very affordable and can be found in abundance no matter where you are at your local hardware store. And the prices begin from around $60 US. This is exactly the type of compressor that I had when I first started out. Sounds great, I'll get that one. But wait, is noise a factor? because this type of compressor can be extremely loud. It's definitely not recommended for indoor use and can only really be used in a garage. If noise isn't an issue, however, then go for one of these. Then you have the creme de la creme. Is that a saying? The silent compressors. Shh. Which one should we talk about? Oilless or lubricated? Let's talk about both. Great. The silent oilless versions can be more affordable than their lubricated counterparts. Yeah, I would have thought this would be the other way around, I don't know. They offer between 10 to 20 litres of air storage and a motor that doesn't require any maintenance. This is great. However, while some oilless silent compressors really are marketed as silent, they make quite a bit of noise. Just have a look at their decibel rating. Just on a personal note, I bought one of these recently for personal use. However, I found it completely impractical for indoor use. Because it was too loud, is why. Even though I was using it in the garage, I would be very wary of using it after hours in case of noise complaints or something like that. And the last thing you want to do is upset your neighbours. While the price is great, the oilless motor is handy, the best you can ask for is complete silence. And that's where our next little beast comes in, the lubricated silent compressor. This little baby packs a whopping 24-litre tank and can output 1.75 cubic feet per minute. Now this is ideal for airbrush use and is almost completely silent. The type of motor that is used is almost identical to what you'll see used in most common household fridges. These are perfect for indoor use due to their silence, their portability, and their reliability. This particular model comes in at about 330, not great, but excellent British pounds. However, for this exact same type, you could expect to pay anywhere from about 700 to 1,000 US dollars. Most models should come with an air regulator. You definitely want one of these included with your compressor. So if it doesn't come with one, then make sure you buy one afterwards. The pressure regulator regulates pressure in your airline and allows you to choose what air pressure you'd like to be painting at, which can come in very handy because you're going to set this depending on the amount that you reduce your paint. The aptly named moisture trap traps moisture, which could otherwise destroy the consistency of flow in your airbrush paint. Now listen just how silent this particular model actually is. And that's exactly what you can come to expect from a silent lubricated airbrush compressor, and that's why they come with my strongest recommendation. Oh, that's great. Do I need to know anything else? Yeah, about moisture traps, yo! Just click on whatever link pops up and you can learn a little bit about moisture traps and air regulators. So in my personal opinion, the lubricated silent type airbrush compressor is the one you should be buying. However, if you're on a budget or you can't afford that price range, then it's certainly not the airbrush compressor that you're required to get. Thanks for watching and for continually spreading the love.